Singapore and the Philippines will work together in developing skills of healthcare workers and greening the economy. Building on the long-standing ties between the two countries, Singapore President Tharman Shanmugaratnam says both sides also want to work together in other areas, and that includes a digital transformation program for the public service. Metteo reports from Manila, where Mr Tharman is on a state visit.
A warm welcome at the Palace in the old Manila district of San Miguel this afternoon, with Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. receiving Singapore President Tharman Shanmugaratnam. Mr Tharman then inspected the guards before officials from both sides enter a bilateral meeting. This is Mr Tharman's second state visit to an ASEAN country. This year also marks 55 years of diplomatic ties between the two countries. Both countries share a relationship that is underpinned by strong economic links, frequent high-level exchanges, and close people-to-people ties. To bring the relationship forward, the two countries also hope to work together in ensuring fair treatment and promoting welfare of Filipino healthcare workers in Singapore. Both also hope to share best practices and programs that will help develop their skills. Mr Tharman says this will deepen work in developing those in the healthcare sectors.
We really appreciate in Singapore the invaluable contributions of Filipinos working in Singapore in a range of professions, and especially the healthcare workers and frontline personnel who stood shoulder to shoulder with Singaporeans during our fight against COVID-19.
Our ministries have worked hard on this MOU in order to ensure that a balance is achieved between the needs of the healthcare sector of both countries, as well as the need for personal development and growth of our healthcare workers. Through this MOU, we express our confidence in Singapore's legal and judicial system, which will ensure that the rights, welfare, and well-being of our kababayan OFWs will be protected as they pursue their careers in Singapore.
Both countries will also work towards a bilateral framework for international transfer of carbon credits. Mr Tharman says that some companies like Keppel Corporation and Gen Zero are already lining up projects on early retirement of coal-fired power plants to earn transition credits.
It's a good example of how we get going, get creative, make use of different forms of finance in order to provide streams of finance that make it possible for conservation to take place, for the retirement of polluting industries, but at the same time to generate growth and jobs. It has to go together.
Mr Tharman says he and the Philippine president also discussed creating an ASEAN power grid to strengthen energy resilience in the region and make renewable energy projects more economically viable. The leaders also spoke about efforts to drive digital transformation in the public service. He adds that both countries are in talks about these plans, which may start later this year. Metteo, CNA, Manila.
Singapore estimates it needs about 82,000 nurses, allied health professionals and support care staff by 2030. And that figure 2 years ago was about 58,000. Now, one main reason for the 2030 projection is to address the country's aging population. By then, 1 in 4 Singaporeans will be aged 65 or above. Let's take a closer look at nurses specifically. In 2022, there were over 43,500 nurses working in Singapore. Singaporeans and permanent residents make up 74%, while the rest are from overseas. Of the foreigners, more than half were from the Philippines. Malaysians formed the next largest group at just under 20%. The remaining nurses came from countries like China, India, and Myanmar. Singapore has implemented schemes to attract and retain nurses. For one, public healthcare nurses can receive up to $100,000 over 20 years of their career. Foreign nurses can also benefit after 4 years of service. Another is flexible shift timings, which gives nurses more options to choose from multiple shift timings. Now, at the meeting today, the two leaders also discussed regional issues, including the South China Sea. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. says his country wants to maintain and promote peace and security in the region and supports peaceful resolution on any disputes. Now, Singapore President Tharman Shanmugaratnam says his country's stance on the issue has always been the same.
The South China Sea is an extremely important issue. Singapore's position, of course, is well known. We've consistently upheld the rights of all states to freedom of navigation and overflight, and strongly supported the peaceful resolution of disputes in accordance with international law.